Hello, Matt here. I sell on Amazon FBA UK. I've been selling on Amazon for a little while now. Started off with arbitrage, going to Boots and buying things and selling it for twice or three times the price on Amazon. And then I progressed into wholesale, and that was a different scenario, less profit margins, but easier to get stock, more sustainable, I think, for a time. But I was always planning on making the move to private label from the start, really. It was more of a transition step, I guess, I was going through. So initially, I started to look around on YouTube, very good source, of course, and there was various providers of courses on there, quite a few, in fact, to begin with. After I went through various content from various YouTubers, I kept stumbling across Dylan's content, specifically talking about the Elite Seller Academy, and it did spark some interest, but I was flicking between the stuff that Dylan had, and then there was a US guy I was speaking with as well. But ultimately, I made the correct decision of essentially moving to the content from Dylan because he sold in the UK market space himself versus anybody in any other country, which I thought was more relevant because we was planning on selling within the UK at least for the first year or two. So had a conversation with Dylan, which was really forthcoming, and then ultimately led myself to purchase a course, to which I purchased a course and probably sat on it for several months before I even looked at the first module. But then I started to go through the content, looking at it mostly on my commute. Wasn't fully doing as much as I could with the content. I was more so just trying to freshen myself up or digest small parts. But I didn't really put it into practice for 6 months plus after purchasing it, which is my fault. Lots of other factors taking place. I ended up going down the route of finding all the modules, but I already had some history. I already had my account set up and the business elements because I was already operating with the arbitrage and wholesale. So I started paying attention to the product research for private label and essentially followed the steps within the guides, which were really thorough, and also had the email dialogue going with Dylan to get myself to my first product. Now I launched that first product and it was decent at the start, but then I felt like I needed more, and I think what I didn't do is go through the content and digest it better. So I started off, whizzed through, thought I knew what I needed to do, had some email dialogue with Dylan, but probably not enough. I should have asked more questions. And then I ended up revisiting and going back through it again this year, or rather we're in 2021 now, beginning of 2020, to decide I was going to reapproach it all again. And by this point, I'd gone back into the course content and 2.0 was released, new fresh content, more relevant to what was happening today, which was great. Went through the content and very, very meticulously went through it step by step, how I should have done to begin with. As going through those steps, I also had additional content and discussions with Dylan on how he was going to approach a couple of products he was looking at. And then ultimately, very, very long process, but from the beginning, probably the first quarter of 2020, went through the motions, analysed in detail a set of products, and then successfully launched one of those new products. It was the end of November, there were some delays in the process, but ultimately launched that product and had a pretty decent month. This was the award I got through just the other day, but ultimately that's led me to a 10k launch on that product, which I properly went through the content and digested and had the dialogue with Dylan. But I think without the content that was provided from Dylan, I wouldn't have got to that point. I mean, the one side of it is the content itself, but I think having that ongoing mentorship, that ongoing discussion, for me personally, helps with the accountability. So very grateful for that. And I've still got my ongoing discussions going with Dylan, and I'm pretty much looking forward to the 3.0 release. I'm sure there'll be fresh new content which I can put into practice for my next set of products. So I'm looking at releasing 2 to 3 products every year, and I've got another 2 which are just getting finished now and will be landing in the marketplace within the next 2 or 3 months, depending on shipping. But again, referring to the content that Dylan provided, I'm able to go back and revisit even trivial things like, which I had a lot of problems with, is finding the right shipping agent and making sure we have that discussion going correctly, finding the right price for it, making sure that's correct, and also dialogue with the factories as well in terms of getting prices and things like that. So it's good to go through all in one go, which is what I did rush time the first time, which was wrong, but go through all in one go was good for me to then go back as I'm going through those milestones. Things like registering a trademark, that was really useful content in there, and also things where you're looking to get your brand up and running, getting the logo created, for example. That was really, really useful. And even just a different approach to product research. all of that is in the course and will come out in refreshed variations of moving forwards. But I think ultimately what helps the most out of the whole scenario and the content that's provided on the Elite Academy is the fact that Dylan's doing it himself as well, and he's actively doing it. And when COVID first hit, I'm sure he had some lows with everybody else, but then that was a nice bit of collaboration, discussion of what was going on in that space versus people that are selling courses and might not even be very active themselves. So yeah, worthwhile content. Looking forward to the 3.0, and I'll maintain my relationship with Dylan throughout all of the releases of our future products moving forwards. Thanks. See you later.